Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Rising. We have a new old friend in the house, Lauren in for Sagar today. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm thrilled to be here. It's going to be a lot of fun today.
Yeah, we got a great show. So we've got Bernie Sanders out with a new climate change plan. One of his top aides is on the show. Jay Inslee is dropping out of the presidential race. What does that mean? Debates coming up. We'll dig into all of that and so much more today on Rising. So what are you looking at this morning, Lauren?
Yeah. So I'm looking at AOC. She's at it again. This time calling the Electoral College a racist scam that needs to be abolished. Because, well, everything these days is racist. The Democratic Congresswoman posted an Instagram story this week that started with her driving along a highway in Middle America and joking about how many votes there are in rural states. Quote, "We're coming to you live from the Electoral College. Many votes here, as you can see. Very efficient way to choose leadership of the country. I mean, I can't think of any other way, can you?" And it's not just AOC blasting the Electoral College. Several Democratic presidential candidates, including Massachusetts Senator Elizabeth Warren and South Bend, Indiana Mayor Pete, have also said they believe the Electoral College should be done away with. And Democrats in the Senate have introduced a constitutional amendment to abolish it. One can't help but feel this is all just a reaction to President Trump. But guys, you shouldn't hate the game just because you lost. Let's pause and take a look at the upsides of the Electoral College. When setting up the country, the founders had a dramatic choice to make. Should Congress select the president, like Britain decided to do with their prime minister, or should the people? If it was up to Congress, they argued, think about the corruption that would exist. If it was up to the people, they feared hot-headed populism could result in an overly powerful president, possibly resulting in a dictatorship. So we had the establishment of the electoral intermediaries, a compromise. These intermediaries would be picked by Congress or wouldn't be picked by Congress or elected by the people. Instead, the states would each appoint independent electors who would cast the actual ballots for the presidency. States set the rules for the electors, whether it's a winner-take-all system or a proportional one. And electors aren't bound by the state election results. They're free to vote their conscience. So it's checks and balances, my friends. But does it mean in today's environment? What does it mean in today's environment over 200 years later? Whether it was originally intended for this reason or not, the Electoral College forces the candidates to consider and take stances on a wider array of issues that affect a more diverse type of voter than if our president was simply decided by a popular vote. It balances the voices from different regions. And whether AOC agrees with it or not, rural America does matter to the economy and to our government. Moving to the popular vote would systematically advantage densely populated areas with huge media markets. And as we've seen, solutions for people living in LA or in New York don't always work for Iowans.
Interesting piece. AOC is totally right, though. I mean, listen, so here's the thing. Number one, you're right about the history. The whole idea behind the Electoral College is that we can't really trust the people, right? That's what underscores this whole bizarre system. And I don't really see it as empowering rural states. It empowers a handful of swing states that happen to be sort of, equally balanced between red and blue. And you know this from politics. I mean, when people run for president, they don't focus on the whole country. They focus on these couple of states that happen to be swing states. So how much time is being paid to Wyoming or Utah or any other number of states, or New York or California, when they're basically in the bag for their team or the other team? It's a nonsensical system. I mean, look, maybe it's being brought up now because we're mad that, we lost to Trump and we won the popular vote. That's fair, but it doesn't undermine the fact that the system is weird and dumb and creates these bizarre quirks of who has power, and it does happen to disadvantage and disempower disproportionately people of color.
No, I completely disagree. Because if we had a popular vote, you think about the states that would be in control and the only places that people would campaign. It would be California, it would be New York, it would be the northeastern states. They would simply glaze over the rest of the part of the country because they wouldn't need it for any sort of election result. What we're seeing is a tried and true election strategy where people go to Iowa and they go to some of the swing states to lock up those electoral votes early, but it doesn't have to be that way. I mean, you even look at what Beto's doing right now. I mean, granted, it's probably going to be a failed strategy, but he's actually skipping Iowa and going straight to Mississippi because he believes that he can actually pull more electoral votes there.
Yeah, I mean, Look, I think the problem is, and what I really see going on is Republicans are performing so poorly with the diverse rising electorate that rather than looking at how to appeal to that electorate, they've decided let's try to change the rules to hold on to power for basically a shrinking minority of the population. The Electoral College is one piece of that. Next up on Rising, Bernie Sanders' criminal justice plan aims to cut the prison population by half.
How he plans to do it, and more news from the campaign trail with Sanders senior advisor Chuck Grocha when Rising continues.